Davis and the Jake Man is a news website founded and run by two individuals residing in the United States. It is not a company or corporate entity of any sort, nor is it associated with any person or legal entity other than its founders. The views expressed on the Davis and the Jake Man website, podcast, and official social media accounts are solely those held by its founders.
Davis and the Jake Man is a New England-based monthly podcast hosted by two certified computer technicians who have each been watching anime for over a decade. This podcast is accompanied by our website, where we continue the discussion and broaden the show's focus to include tech reviews and subjects of note in the IT industry. Visit us at davisandthejakeman.com. We went to see Star Wars The Force Awakens last night. It was a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah, it was.
So, in the spirit of being for nerds of all kinds, we decided we'd have a little improv discussion about it.
Yep, so be sure to tune out if you are wary of spoilers.
Alrighty, so Star Wars The Force Awakens takes place about 30 or so years after the events of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. One thing I think that was pretty cool was that we saw a return of the three main characters. We see Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I really don't think they could have brought in any other actors for those roles. They're just so iconic.
I was thinking about that when we were watching it, like, at the end. Like, what if Mark Hamill was dead? Would they have been able to, have a fill-in for him, or would they have just not included his character?
Well, no way to know now.
Yeah, it's fortunate that, all three of them are still alive. But speaking of life and death, they killed Han Solo. What the f***? I thought he was going to be in all three of them.
I think he came on with the sole condition that they killed him off.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere. He only came on board so they could kill him off.
Well, I think they did a good job of weaving that condition to this film, because when we see Kylo Ren as sort of this angsty youngster, it gives some legitimacy to how evil he is by taking his own father's life. Whereas, if Han Solo were to appear in all three new films, then obviously he couldn't get killed off in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the actor who played Kylo Ren did very well. I mean, you could see the emotion in his face in several parts of the film, especially during the Han Solo killing. You could see the tears welling up in his eyes and everything. You could see the torment on his face. Yeah,
it's funny how, kind of like the opposite of, say, someone new to a faith of some sort, where they try to pray away the evil. He's trying to pray away the good. He's hoping that Snoke and his teachings will allow him to overcome the temptations of the light, which I thought was a good reversal of how Luke Skywalker, had a few run-ins with the dark side of the Force. He was tempted a few times, especially in the episodes 5 and 6, being that Luke is Ren's uncle. There's some correlation there.
The Skywalker family just seems to have a lot of trouble with the Force. I mean, it really runs in the family.
Yeah, it's this reoccurring theme of good versus evil.
Right, the bringing of balance to the Force.
Right, things are always in flux.
So yeah, are you excited for the Return of the Jedi? The actual return this time?
I don't know, honestly. Because, if I'm being frank, I don't think Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker, is all that talented of an actor. I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but I don't know, I could never get into him as the main character in the original three films. And it's not to say he's awful, but I don't know. I feel like he's meh.
Harrison Ford has always been the big name in Star Wars, hasn't he?
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, certainly more people think Han Solo is cool than Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Although, how much of that has to do with the character and how much of that has to do with the actor?
It's probably about half and half. I mean, Han Solo is an interesting character in that he's the rogue. He's the smuggler. He's
sort of the embodiment of this concept of good and evil being two sides of the same coin. Because, he's a thief by trade. Well, not a thief per se, but he's a criminal by trade. And yet, he fights for the greater good.
Yeah, so. He's a smuggler turned war hero. So he's kind of at the very point of balance for the dark and light.
Which, prior to his death, kind of made him the main character in a sense. Because,
sure.
He eventually gets married to Princess Leia, and he's good friends with Luke Skywalker. So, it seems like almost all the characters revolve around him. And it's kind of a toss-up between Han and Luke. It could be argued that they're dual main characters. It's hard to choose a main character. Han isn't Force-sensitive, and so that might automatically exclude him from being considered the main character.
The thing is, with all the extended universe, almost every single character has their time in the spotlight.
Which is great. I mean, like I was saying about how I don't consider Mark Hamill to be an especially talented actor. The good thing is, in episode 8, where he'll obviously play a larger role, we're guaranteed to not just see him. So even for people like me who don't particularly care for him, there's going to be a lot of other actors allowing us to see the stories of these other characters. All right, Davis, what was your favorite scene?
Hard to pick a scene. I would probably say the last fight sequence was very well done.
I like that a lot too. I like that Rey had a premonition about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she touched Luke's lightsaber, she was like, "Oh, something big's gonna happen."
Yeah, and I mean, it's occurred several times, even in the movies and the extended universe, that the Force does give premonitions. That's one of their most useful powers, and it's actually mentioned in, I believe, episode 1 that that's the source of their heightened reflexes. They can see things before they happen, which makes Jedi fights very complicated, I'm sure.
Like, hi, I saw that coming. Hi, I saw that coming.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is, too, when I saw the previews, which were the only source of spoilery type thing I consumed, they showed Finn with a lightsaber. So I thought at first that he was going to be a Force-sensitive main character, and that Rey was going to be like the new Han Solo. She still is, because, you know, Chewbacca's her sidekick. I didn't expect her to be the one with the abilities of the Jedi.
And I actually think Finn could be a Jedi in the next movie. If you'll remember, during the orbital moonshots, or whatever you want to call them, he actually turned around and sensed the voices on those planets.
Oh yeah, that's true. Although being Force sensitive and being in
a Jedi,
right? Yeah, there are some characters in the Star Wars universe who have some abilities of the Force, but can't wield a lightsaber, can't move objects.
Yeah,
but had sort of these basic psychic powers.
Yeah, Mav in the movie was a very good example of that.
Nah, it's funny we talk about the extended universe, but I read not too long ago that they actually nerfed all of the comics and extended universe stuff. It's no longer considered canon.
You like canons?
I like canon. Boom. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, they cut out a bunch of the extended universe, and I was trying to figure out what they cut out and what they didn't.
From what I understand, they kept in the cartoons, the 6 films, and a few of the comics. And aside from that, all of it's gone. Like the novelizations, they had an author shortly after the airing of episode 6 do like a what if. And in his version, Palpatine has a clone, and then his soul goes into the clone. And then so Luke Skywalker has to defeat the evil Emperor all over again. But that's not canon anymore. Like in the real Star Wars, you know, the one that we saw on the big screen, the Emperor died when Darth Vader threw him down the shaft.
Right, because what I'm understanding is the stuff that they cut out, and they ruled it as alternate interpretations of the films. It seems they wanted the 6 films to be the canon.
As they should be. I mean, you know, they're the crowning achievement of the Star Wars empire.
True enough. And then I believe a few of the novels have been kept in. I actually bought one that's canon the other night. Haven't had a chance to read through it.
You know what I've been seeing at our local comic book store is Darth Vader has his own line of comics now. You know how like Wolverine has his own? Like Darth Vader does.
About time.
Yeah.
The fight scene was very well done. In that it gave Finn a chance to try and do something in the film. You know, he spent the entire film running away from the Empire, and then finally takes a stand. That's a great example of character development. Very important when you're going to do like a trilogy.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that they're setting this up for a new trilogy, which is what pretty much everyone wants. And I haven't heard anyone I've talked to complain that, oh, there's going to be an epic in a year and a half. That they're just trying to cash in. Like, no, like that's good. That's what folks want. Because I mean, the whole idea is to like redeem Star Wars after episodes 1 through 3 made it look like a joke and like a cash cow, rather than, you know, a source of entertainment and shared culture across generations.
Looking at Rey through the whole scene, you could see how she developed as well. You know, at the beginning of the movie, she wanted nothing to do with Finn and the Galactic Empire and the New Order, and everything crazy that's going on. You can also see throughout the movie that she already knows that nobody's coming back for her on Jakku, and
which I like just because it starts with JAK. So
yeah, Jakku-san.
Ooh.
Cut that out.
Ooh.
But yeah, just that turning point in the fight where Rey begins to understand the Force and starts to use it was just really amazing. How she turned the fight on just the way she turns the fight on Kylo Ren was very, very well done, and just it was very well choreographed. They were cutting the trees up, they were dodging the trees. Then the plot hole, as I described it in the middle of the fight, the plot hole. But it was just very well done, very well choreographed, and it felt every bit as a fight in Star Wars should feel. The idea that either character could lose a limb at any moment.
It's not too surprising that Kylo Ren, being that he's still in training, lost the fight, but I did like that there was a good back and forth, and as you were saying, so it was very high pressure, high stakes, very fitting of a final fight scene.
Yeah.
Although there was a huge conspiracy theory, I don't know if you heard about this. For a short while, people were saying that the leader of the New Order, Snoke, was somehow Jar Jar Binks. They really go in depth here. I believe it was a programming error, but during certain scenes in episodes 1 through 3, when protagonists are speaking, Jar Jar Binks' mouth is moving in tandem with theirs. So someone put forth this theory that he's a Sith Lord and he's using the Force to manipulate what they're saying. And I just don't buy it. These were made in the late 90s, early 2000s. I really just think it was an oversight and, software not behaving as it should. Unless, because he's like a simpleton, he was somehow mouthing what they were saying to better understand it.
That sounds a lot more logical to me. I mean, this script hasn't been written and sitting on George Lucas's desk for 30 years. Or even 10.
Alrighty, so my favorite scene. What is it? Boy, that is a tough one. I think I like the scene best where Rey is held captive by Ren for a few reasons. One, that's when she starts to really use the Force. And two, that's when we get the best glimpse into Kylo Ren's anger problem. In the opening scenes, he's shown as this fully realized successor to Darth Vader, but we learn through his immaturity that isn't the case. You know how when he finds out that she escaped, he loses it for a moment and starts slashing the room? That really foreshadows his losing to Rey in the final scene. Because he's inexperienced, he's able to be defeated by this novice. Whereas if he were a fully realized Sith Lord, there's no way she would live.
Right. I mean, a key part of this movie where there was no Jedis to really train against, to train to fight. It doesn't look like Snook is going to get up and throw a lightsaber around at him.
It's Snoke. The Snook is a bomb that's inside Hillary Clinton.
Snoke. But that was a very good scene. It also gave us the greatest glimpse into Rey's character and her character development, and that Kylo Ren is reading her mind and her memories, and just, telling us what kind of person she is.
Yeah, I liked when she did it back.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're insecure. You don't think you're going to be as strong as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Which, it should have been immediately obvious when we learned that he's Han and Leia's son, but I didn't consider... Oh, duh, that makes him Darth Vader's grandson. Because, you're so enthralled and engaged in what's happening in the moment on screen, you don't have time to really plot out the family tree.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't. But, yeah, that's friggin'...
It slipped my mind that Darth Vader was the grandfather, because you don't always think of Leia as being his daughter. You always think about Luke and Darth Vader, because that was... the entire plot point of the first three, in the original 3 movies, I should say.
Right, until episode 6, we have no idea that they're siblings.
Yeah.
Darth Vader and Princess Leia, as I recall, never actually meet.
Right.
So I'd say my favorite scene is the scene in which Rey is held hostage, because we learn some very interesting things about both the protagonist and antagonist. But that fight scene was great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. All right, Davis, who is your favorite character?
Well, quite obviously, it's got to be Rey. she's a great example of character development. She's Luke Skywalker's daughter. She's learning to use the Force, and she learns it very.
Is she?
Yeah, she's learning to use the Force.
No. Is she Luke Skywalker's daughter? I mean, it's hinted, but did they ever actually say that?
It's pretty strongly hinted.
It's strongly hinted, but other thing is, she could just be his spiritual successor, not
right. But if you'll remember, during the scene in which she had her visions from the lightsaber, she saw her own memory of when she was left. Imprinted on the lightsaber. When she was left on Jakku, she saw her own memory from the lightsaber.
Oh, so her experiences must somehow be linked to the lightsaber?
Yes.
Oh, I thought the lightsaber just awakened her Jedi powers because it's a Jedi artifact, not because she has a personal link to it.
Well, she does have a personal link to it in that she's the daughter of Luke Skywalker and the granddaughter of Darth Vader. They both held the lightsaber for a long time.
I think you're using circular reasoning here.
Oh.
Yeah, you're saying that she's his daughter because the lightsaber activated her powers, and the lightsaber activated her powers because she's his daughter. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that's a very likely theory. I kind of am assuming that's going to be like the next big reveal, but I don't think they've explicitly said it. It's been hinted at, but in the same way that she's the spiritual successor to Han, but she's not his kid.
Right.
She just has some similar traits to these old protagonists.
I mean, she also learns to use the Force very quickly when she starts going. When she escapes from the chamber on her own with the Jedi persuasion, she starts to feel the Force during the battle with Kylo Ren and eventually turns it against him.
I mean, it's so 21st century to have, a woman be the main character. This didn't at all feel to me like it was a woman being a main character just for the sake of it. It was someone that you could root for just based on the quality of the character. It's not like this is some equality in the workplace type thing. She's a good actress and the character is interesting and, her character stands on its own merit.
Right. It felt very organic. It was a very good performance.
It was.
A theme of the Star Wars movies has always been the coming of age, almost. The growing up and becoming an adult, becoming a Jedi, has always been key in all of the movies, actually. The original trilogy saw Luke Skywalker's growth. The second trilogy saw Anakin Skywalker's growth and eventual insanity, or whatever you want to call that.
And actually, speaking of that, that leads pretty well into who my favorite character is. It's Kylo Ren. And I think probably what sold me on how cool this character is that the part where Han goes, there's too much Vader in him. Soon after that, Kylo Ren takes off his mask. Not only does he choose to wear an outfit that looks all like Darth Vader, but, the man behind the mask looks quite similar.
Now that you mention it, yeah. Really has to find a better role model.
Heartbreaking might be a stretch, but I did find it morally offensive when he kills Han.
Yeah.
I thought what he was going to do was join the Resistance and then be a mole. That was my theory.
Harrison Ford played Han Solo at that particular moment so well. You could see the pain in his face. When he reaches for his son's face one last time, and then, afterwards when he falls into the pit. What is it with the Sith and their bottomless pits?
He's casting lightning at nothing as he's falling.
Lightning bolt.
Hit him with a thunderbolt. No.
Yeah.
But
he failed the dexterity check.
Well, he is super old.
Yeah. So. Like Yoda level old, probably. Nah, not quite.
Because actually, before Mace Windu hits Palpatine with his own lightning, he doesn't look that old. He has gray hair, but he's not super wrinkled.
Right.
So he's like a burn victim from his own Force lightning. That's why he looks so deformed. So aside from Kylo Ren being obsessed with trying to outdo his grandfather, I think it's interesting because in the original trilogy, we only see one side of the Force learning and growing, whereas Snoke is going to complete Ren's training in the same way that Rey has sought out Skywalker.
Yeah, I mean, the duality of the Force is very important. I mean, and it really is interesting. I really hope we get to see some of the training methods from both sides of the Force. I don't know. So far, Luke hasn't spoken a word in the new trilogy. He just sort of stared at her while the dramatic camera shot.
That was amazing, though. It really
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
That panorama was on point.
That's the greatest way to end that movie.
I gotta say, one of the things that hyped me the most for watching this was in the preview, they showed the clip of Luke Skywalker putting his hand on R2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
This was an amazing film, and I just can't wait for episode 8.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, in a big way. And so ends episode 2 of Davis and the Jake Man. Today we discussed Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Davis and the Jake Man, for nerds of all kinds? Were we going to do that, or?
Having just you say it is fine.
Okay.
Davis and the Jake Man is available on social media. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Davis and the Jake Man. You can also follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/Davis and Jake, or @Davis and Jake. Likewise, on Google Plus, we are available to be followed. Same URL there, plus.google.com/Davis and the Jake Man. We do have ambitions for our website aside from it being the place where our podcast lives. We're going to expand it. It's going to be a place of tech journalism.
As you can tell, we are nerds. We tend to go off topic. We tend to jump around between topics and subjects. If somebody looked at my reading list, they'd see anything from security to computers to video games. We'll try and share some of the stuff and some of the more interesting things we find online with you. Anything from...
Right, and we won't just be reposting content, but in the weeks and months to come, expect original content from davisandthejakeman.com. So expect some original content from Davis and the Jake Man regarding consumer technology from me, Jake Man, and op-eds, opinion pieces, and news articles from Davis about both computer security and gaming. For nerds of all kinds. Davis and the Jake Man is brought to you by Dr. Jake's Diet Water. Dr. Jake's Diet Water is not actually a diet supplement. It is simply water. Jake is not a medical doctor, nor does he hold a doctorate of any kind. Side effects of Dr. Jake's Diet Water include hydration, diarrhea, anxiety, and butt itchiness. Please consult a real doctor before consuming Dr. Jake's Diet Water. Dr. Jake's Diet Water, not available in any stores.